Hello, world, and welcome to our podcast where two pals with totally different viewpoints, thoughts, and who really don't know much of anything discuss news, politics, conspiracy theories, and much, much more. One's a genius, the other's an idiot. Or are they both idiots?
Or are they both geniuses?
You be the judge.
You be the judge. We're
Yes.
waiting on to hear your comments.
Now, live from beautiful Central Florida, welcome to the Political No Brainer. Your hosts are to your right, extreme right, Zach, who's always right. And to your left would be Coach Tripperoo.
It's me. I'm Coach Trippy. I'm here tonight, ready to go,
What's
raring to
up?
go.
What's up,
What's going
Rapu?
on, buddy? How are
What's
you?
up? Another day in paradise, you know.
Yes, I had a
Look,
busy
I'm on the
day
beach again.
again, and I'm
Last
in
week
my
I was in last
office.
week I was in my mountain cottage. Today I'm on the beach.
Today I'm still in my office.
You,
And,
are you, are
and
you
why
allowed
is
to?
that, Zach?
Because you are computer ignorant.
I can't find the backgrounds for the life of me. And I've gotten closer though. But now I have to
Yeah.
sign in. Now I have to sign in.
Well, you'll have to ask one of your children who will definitely know how to do it.
He's right next door, but he's busy on his on his Xbox, I'm sure.
Well, that's all right because I think not this weekend, but shortly I'm going to learn how to work our other platform, and so we'll probably be doing live from there.
Yeah, I heard
Um,
about that. That would be the Libsyn platform.
yes. So
Is that
once I
right?
learn that, it'll probably be much better because my friend who is a podcast extraordinaire, Mr. Daniel Quijano, I give a shout out to his podcast. Check him out. He's on what's his podcast called? Here I'm doing a shout out for him. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Laura, you can edit this so I don't sound like a total moron.
Amuran. We're gonna give him a shout out next week when we actually know the name of his podcast.
Yeah, no, it's oh my gosh, why am I drawing a total blank today? Daniel Quijano. Oh, Prophet and Paradox. Check him out on YouTube. He's cool. He's
Profit and
funny.
Paradox.
Prophet and Paradox. He
I
is
think
a
we're two
real
funny
estate.
guys.
I think he is a real estate guru.
A guru.
Yeah. He's like one of the top real estate flippers in the world.
Really?
I'm probably blowing a lot of smoke up his butt, but that's all right. He's my homeboy. Me and him have been friends for a long time. He's
We
like my
give him
brother.
props. We like him. We've
Yeah, we're
been
gonna
asking
get.
him advice.
We're gonna get him on the show. I've already discussed it with him, and we're gonna discuss politics and the economy and the housing market because that's a big thing for him.
When are we gonna do that? I'm
Uh,
excited.
I don't know. I'll get him on. We got to find time because he's a very very busy individual. But if you watch his show, you'll learn all about him. He talks all kind of stuff. He's great. His podcast is really good, and
I
he's
want to hear it.
super educational. He's not as good looking or as funny as I am, but hey,
You can't have
you
everything.
know what I'm saying.
I
But
mean, we're two good-looking guys.
he makes fun of me because I'm on Zoom, and I said, bro, come on, I don't have millions of dollars like you to hire a whole team and the staff and everything else. So he gave me some tips. He showed me this one podcast web platform that I was interested in, but it's more for doing everything live, and we have not gone to that live. I'm not saying we're not ready to go live, but just in case, because I like to slip up and make fun of things, and then Jeff gets in trouble.
Yeah, we're not
So
ready for live. Let's leave it at that.
yeah, and
But
Jeff
we are
likes
ready for this. We are ready for
yeah.
tonight.
So and as of right now, we've got a big announcement coming up next week. Hold on to your cats and kittens. Next week, we're going to be interviewing a guy who's running for senator. I think he's Connecticut. He's running for senator.
U.S.
Yes,
Senate in
his name is
Connecticut.
his name is John Flynn. He's the U.S. Senate candidate for Connecticut. We're going to be interviewing him, and I would love for you guys to give us some questions, especially all my northern friends. Jump in, ask whatever you want. I'm researching and studying the guy. I have a feeling he sways to my side of the spectrum, but I think Trippy's going to have a good smorgasbord full of questions, a
I'm
plethora,
excited.
a
A
plethora,
plethora,
might I say.
plethora of questions. I
So
always
as
do.
of right now, he is tentatively on for next week. We're excited. They reached out to us. We are esteemed podcasters.
That's what they said. I'm glad
I'll
to be
take it.
esteemed.
I don't
I'll
care.
take it. I took it.
I
I
took a
would.
steam today. I was at the hot tub and the steam, and it was a sauna. So
Oh Lord, I went in the wrong
you
direction with
did.
my little.
You thought I was talking about
Whoa,
taking a
phew.
steamer.
I certainly
Ah,
did.
oh
Woo.
goodness
Let me
gracious.
dry my eyes.
I'm crying over here.
I'm crying.
So
Laughed so hard I cried.
lots of news going on. One of the big things, and my friend kind of made fun of me, and then he recanted though, because one of the big things is I've been kind of watching Dr. Phil lately, and I said, dude, have you watched any of these Dr. Phil shows, these interviews he's doing and stuff? And he says, first of all, I'm not a 75-year-old house lady. I said, shut up and watch it. I said, matter of fact, his interview with Trump was fantastic. I said, Dr. Phil, I believe, has broken away from the evil clutches of the dark overlord that he was under. And I think
And he's
he's
on.
and he's quite conservative. So yeah, props to the bald guy. I like Dr. Phil. Hey, Dr. Phil, if you're out there listening to us, we'd love to chat with you because
We'll
you're
have you on the show.
extremely intellectual, and I think you know a lot more than we do. There's another guy out there I'm trying to reach out to. I don't think I'd ever get him. But boy, howdy, I'd love to get Charlie Kirk on this show. And
That would be something.
if you guys don't know who Charlie Kirk is, look him up. He is one phenomenal cat. He goes into the lion's den, I like to say, and they come at him. Liberals really hate this guy. They think he's a racist Nazi. I've never heard him say one thing other than he just spits history and education, and he's just knowledgeable, and it baffles. Sorry, the left, they're just retarded. I can't use that word, can I?
No,
They're
that's a
just
bad word.
they're just not as well educated as he is, and they go berserk on him. And boy, howdy, he never ever loses his cool. They can literally be cussing him out left and right, and he just sits there and just shakes his head and smiles.
Well, we never lose our cool either.
Well, I've never been put in that situation, but let me tell you, some large blue-haired he, she, they, them, whatever they are, comes at me. They might catch a mouthful of knuckles.
No, I think you'd be able to maintain your calm.
Hey, I'll let Jesus turn the other cheek. I'm gonna give you a fistful of knuckles.
For the
But
blue hair or
anybody,
the.
anybody come at me like to do violence?
Oh, no, no, I'm saying no, not verbally. If they're no,
Nah, you
no.
can call me whatever you want. That doesn't hurt my
Right.
feelings.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
Insult
no.
my wife or my kids, then you're probably
Yeah,
gonna end up
then
with.
it would be personal.
Then my Jersey
And
Italian side comes up, and you're gonna sleep with the fishes. Did I just physically threaten somebody? No, I
no,
didn't.
not anybody in particular.
No, so they can't hold that
The
against me.
fish think from the head to the tail, they say. You ever hear a mobster say that?
From the Luda to the Tuda. Hey, another thing I found hilarious. We got our first scolding on YouTube. They I don't think they really scolded us, but they wanted to educate me on what the UN thinks of global warming.
I saw that and I read that. And you know, global warming, I guess, has become a contentious issue. I don't know why. There is a scientific part of it. There's an opinion part of it. And everybody has a right to their opinion, and everybody has a right to choose what they believe as far as scientists are
I was
saying.
watching a scientist today who they asked him about climate. Are we in a climate change emergency? And he said, no, we are still in the ice age. It started 34 million years ago. And sometimes it's really cold and sometimes it's really hot. And he goes, what causes that? That big thing on fire in the sky. And I thought it was really interesting. I mean, there's a lot more in depth to it. I was giving you
The short version,
the cliff notes, but
Cliff Note.
I was like, okay, you know, I does climate change happen every day? It happens. Look, there was a huge hurricane down in Texas. That was climate change. They got wet. I mean, so but hey,
Well,
look,
that
I don't want
the
to get scolded
concern.
by YouTube again. So
No,
let's
no,
not.
but the concern is there is real reason to believe that gas emissions and the population is increasing, but we're in a depopulation mode now, and that's concerning some people. So,
I'm gonna get a large farm and have many cows, and it's gonna call fart. We're gonna call it Fart Town.
well, that was another. Wasn't that another one? If the cows they have two stomachs, and when they emit gas, that emits a certain climate change and global warming gas. So if everybody was vegan, actually, we would have a better result as far as global warming,
That would
controlling
be
global warming.
comment from your girl AOC.
She's not my girl, but
Oh, she's
she
all
did have a
embarrassed.
lot of comments about President Biden the last couple of days. She was saying he's our candidate. We're sticking with him.
Well, I mean, hey, what have I told you about loyalty? That to me is good. I mean, you stand by your
I'm
man no
proud of
matter
her.
how bad or good they are. Look at Pennsylvania stood by Fetterman.
Right.
He went through a lot of health issues. Good Lord, the poor guy had a stroke and then
Well, he was in a
he should have
position to recover. Biden's probably
he
not in
was
a
not in a
position.
position to recover. They threw him right to the Lions for a couple times. You're like, how about them Philadelphia? Go Eagle! I'm like, what are you talking about, bro?
But I mean, Biden's really at an age where he is. They've been saying now. I I've been reading that for the last year and a half, they've noticed that he's been progressively getting older. He's aging, and I'm concerned about his aging.
We talked about this last week. I have yet to see a president go into office and then come out not looking ragged and
Right,
old.
the job took its toll on him, and he's
Yeah.
81 now. He's 81, so
Yeah. I
there
mean,
is some
God
serious.
bless him, but boy, go retire.
I think there's
Go
some
on
serious
out to the
pressure.
pasture.
I think he's going to step down. I'm
Uh,
starting to feel that.
you told me it wasn't going to happen. Did I not call it?
I'm starting to feel it today. I think it was Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, Democrat House Minority Leader, Democrat, who spoke to him. There's some serious people defecting from the Biden camp, so that's something generally politicians do fold to that kind of pressure that he's feeling now. So
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, we live in some really cool, interesting time. Yeah,
time, very interesting.
I had a Fetterman moment.
Uh-oh,
I,
we gotta
I like him actually. I think he's an interesting cat.
Fetterman.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yes, I'm
dude.
just
Anybody who shows up in sweats and a shorts and a hoodie with a necktie on because they made him wear a tie and jacket. He's my kind of guy. He's hilarious. And he went out when they were protesting. The pro-Palestine were out there protesting, and he went out and waved his big uh, Israeli flag, and because he's Jewish, and he's one of your peeps. And
and he's pro-Palestine.
no, he's not, not at
He's
all.
not.
No,
No.
no, not at all. No, he's pro-Israel.
Well, I'm very pro Palestinians having their own state. I think I made that clear that they should have their own place,
Not where they're
and
at. They can go somewhere else.
it's gonna be where they're at. I
See
think
if
it's gonna be in the West
Iran or
Bank.
Iraq or Afghanistan or somebody else wants it.
Nope. I think it's
But
gonna
you
be
know
the
what?
West
You know
Bank.
what my real philosophy is on that? I just looked out my front window. Guess what? I can't see
What?
the Gaza Strip, so I don't care.
Well, where are you now? You're in the beach. Where is your
I
beach
am.
front at?
I'm wherever you want me to be at a beach.
Hawaii.
Yes, kind of want to lay you.
Kanawalea.
Did you ever see
Hawaii.
Grumpy Old Men? The outtakes. I hear you speak Hawaiian. Kind of want to lay you.
You said it so officially. I was like, what the hell is he saying? Where did he get that? I lived in Hawaii for two
I know you
years.
did. You were a homeless guy on the beach.
Homeless. Well, no, I had a place,
Were
but
you like
it
a
was
hobo?
no, I had a
Do
place. I
they
had a
use that
little.
word anymore?
Not. I haven't heard it in the longest
I
time, but there is
didn't
a.
say homo. I said hobo.
I don't think they're using either term anymore. They're not politically correct.
Oh
There
man.
is a problem with homeless people. I mean, it's everywhere.
Oh,
It's
dude.
scary.
I was down. I had to go down for an inspection today for one of my jobs. I had to meet with the fire marshal, and it was at a corporate office for one of the large big box stores. And we passed inspection, all was good. And I was leaving. I went a different way, and it took me through this parking lot through between a Lowe's and a Walmart. And the exit of the parking lot onto was it John Young? Was it Kirkman? I don't remember. But they had those, those bandit signs, the little street. They put them on the by stop signs. They put little signs everywhere, like advertisements
Yeah.
for get your
Oh
treats
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this was like 10 of them in a row. Help Orlando homeless, donate to Cash App, Orlando Nation homeless or something. First of all, I'm like, first of all, I'm not. You wrote it with a Sharpie on a on a bandit sign, so I'm going to send my Cash App to you, right? But I
Yeah.
was like, is the homelessness that bad? But
It's bad.
I seem to forget because I'm in Orlando all day long, and they're everywhere. They are every there's tents, there's little homeless cities, and they're always under the bridge. They're always at every stoplight. Now, some of the people at the stoplights may not be homeless. I hear it's actually it's like a gang, not a gang. It's like they make these people work. These guys like pimp them out. And they make them stand in the corner to collect money.
Well, that happened in Thailand. When we were adopting the kids, we were in Thailand for a couple of weeks, and there was a guy. He had no legs, and he would sit there on the street corner. I gave him some money a couple of times, and another guy that we knew that had been living there and helping us get around, showing us where to go during the day, as far as getting all our paperwork and stuff done, said don't give him no money because no matter what he collects, he doesn't see any of it. All they do is they feed him at the end of the day. That's his job, is to collect the money. He gives it all to the gang or whatever, the
Right. And
warlord.
that's I think that's what it is here.
Yeah. Well, I
Now
mean,
now
I hope it's
you
not
can
that.
tell. I mean, there you can tell true homeless people. But look, if I see a guy standing in a corner and he's got a cell phone and he's got his backpack and he's got nice shoes on, I'm like, at least look like you're homeless, bro.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, a little story that's near and dear to my heart. I help out at
When
the
you were
State of Hope.
homeless down in
When
Hawaii,
I
how did
was
you dress?
down in no,
Were you
I
in
brought
were you in jams and a tank top all day
I was
long?
looking like you, that t-shirt actually, and a
Yeah.
bathing suit.
Who was it jams? Were they jams?
No,
Because it was the 80s, wasn't
parachute,
it?
parachute suit, parachute material. Remember when those were popular?
Yeah,
That's how
parachute
long it's
pants.
been. But so working at the State of Hope, I work and we house about it's a repurposed hotel on Lee Road in Orlando. We provide homes for about 70 homeless veterans, and everybody thinks homeless veterans, and this is important to keep in mind because I don't say everybody thinks with authority, but I think the perception is that homeless veterans are homeless because of PTSD, because of post-traumatic stress
Not
disorder.
necessarily.
That's not why. Generally, a lot of times, homeless veterans, a lot of times, and there is no one size fits all, this is why it's happening, but there is a good percentage of homeless veterans. They join the military right out of high school simply because they don't have the skills to really perform in life. So the military provides them everything, provides them a home, provides them a job, provides them a training for the job they're doing in the military. Doesn't mean they're getting a good training for something outside of the military. It means they are getting training and they are productive in their position in the military. When they get out of the military, they may go stay at a friend's house or something. They're still never had the life skills they need to really survive out and about in the world, other than a controlled environment like the military. And ultimately, they
Okay.
kind of burns.
Sorry, Lorianne said something to me.
Oh, ultimately they burn the family members they're staying out, and the family members that they're staying over, and wind up, out overstaying their welcome, and ultimately they wind up homeless.
Well,
There's a
it's
lot
really
of people.
what's really funny. It's funny you say that. I watched a video today. Jesse the Body Ventura, the governor, the ex-governor of Minnesota. Um, he was talking about the military, and he says, I went in the day I turned 18, I went into the Navy. I went through boot camp, then I went through special training. I became a Navy SEAL. Then I went over, did active duty. He was in Vietnam. And he says, I did all this before I was 21. I came home and there's a mandatory after you do a tour, you have to take 9 months off at home. You can't go back into battle. I guess for Navy SEALs. I don't
Navy
know about
SEAls, right?
yeah.
No,
And
I think they keep it.
he came home and he said after a day or two, he said to his commanding officer, he says, I want to go back. He says, you can't. You got to wait. He says, the routine. He goes, why do you want to go back? He goes, because over there and in the Navy, I'm a man. I'm trained to kill, destroy, do whatever I do. Here in America, I'm not 21. I'm still a child. I can't have a beer. I can't vote because at that time where he was living, you couldn't vote till you were 21. And I said that really impacted me. He says that they're sending children off to war. He goes, think about it. He goes, how many kids who go into the military die before their 21st birthday? They haven't even, I mean,
A
legally been
lot.
able to have a drink. And
Right.
I said, so a lot of these guys do come back. And look, there's a lot of, I won't say PTSD, but there's a lot of people who come back from the military and their camaraderie with their brotherhood from their platoon or their squad or whatever it might be. And they come here and they don't have that. They don't know how to deal with it, or their family doesn't know how to deal with them. You know, they don't know how to deal with this guy who's getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, running 12 miles, and then be back home and looking for work and blah blah blah, and maybe flipping out or having night terrors or whatever it might be. They don't know how to deal with this, so yeah, they kick them out. So they're homeless. I
There.
think the military. This is me personally just speaking, but I think the military should have a decommission program where, like, they decommission boats after in the Navy, when the boat's done being a ship, they decommission it and then they put it to sleep, basically. So they decommission these sailors, soldiers to get ready to go back into society and slowly feed them back into society. Kind of like imagine if you're in jail for 20 years. You did something, you got 20 years. You come out. They just open the gates and let you go. You're supposed to go to halfway houses or rehabilitation or whatever, but sometimes you don't. And you go back home. You don't know how to live. You've been in
No.
jail. How many of those guys end up back in jail?
And so let's exclude the guys that went to jail. So because that's really that's becoming a sort of, but the military, like you said, for example, they are not ready to live on their own. They are not productive. They are not ready to
Now, and I
navigate.
am not talking about the kid who goes in and he goes through boot camp and goes through school and he does a couple years and then he's done. That, I mean, come on, you didn't do nothing. But I'm talking about these guys who spend their life in the military or
Right.
even 8 or 10 years.
8 or 10 years. Let's say that.
Because
That's in.
the average kid goes in for 4 years. And thank you, my love.
Is that your
Tonight
bubbly?
it is not as LaCroix. Tonight is LaCroix.
LaCroix.
Yes.
I keep meaning to go and get those. I've been at Public
This
twice
one,
today.
this one is passion fruit and it is delicious.
It looks delicious, and
It
I am
is
going to get some.
refreshing.
I may go to get some after
That was
this.
the amazing Lorianne who just popped her head in here, by the way.
LA, how are you? We miss you. We know you don't want to be a staple on the show, but
She can't hear you. I have my
oh,
headphones
you
on.
can repeat it all, or everybody watching us can hear it all.
Everybody can comment and say, "We want
So, like
LA.
you
We
said
want
that.
LA." So, like, yeah. I mean, the kids
So,
like,
like
like the reserves. You go in, you do your boot camp, you go through your A school, and then you're in reserves for a couple of years. You're back in society, working a regular job. You're a weekend warrior. You don't need to be recommissioned to go back into the
no,
world.
but what you were talking about is a great example of what I've been talking about. I mean, it mirrors my idea. Really mirrors exactly what you said. More like the Hershey University in Pennsylvania. It's a school and it's a home for kids with campus parents and all kinds of life skill courses on top of the courses, top of the curriculum, and it really gets them prepared for life. And they live on that campus. And not only for the military, like you said, the people that have been there 8 years or 10 years, or they draw the threshold at 8 years and say, look, if you're adapting, you're adapting. But if you're not, you're welcome here on this campus for 4 years to get life skills and to live here. But also, I think we should have that available to kids timing out of foster care. We should have those campuses across the country. And, I'm going to
Well,
tell you
that's true
something.
because when in foster care, the minute you turn 18, poof,
You time out.
you're done.
And you're
Yeah.
thrown to the wolves. You're thrown to the wolves. I've made this point so many times. These 18-year-olds find their best chance to achieve financially is by trading their own selves. It's the only thing they have other over and above their older competition. So they get right into the sex trade because that's all they can do is compete with the older folks with that being their only edge. And that's a sad commentary.
And you can still say the same thing about prison because these guys come out and what have they known? Nothing but
Well,
living
prison
in the
could be a
jungle.
But kids, a lot of kids, 50% of kids that come out of foster care are never gainfully employed in their lifetime. So
Right.
that may be how a lot of people wind up in prison. I mean, we really want to catch them before they turn before they turn into a life of crime and really reverse that cycle more than say, they've been in prison for 15 years and now they have no way of adapting onto the real world. I would really catch them before they get to the point where they wind up in prison for 15 years and really give them a viable option of understanding what it takes to succeed in life. And
Well,
there's
as my pastor says, it is much easier to train a child than it is to retrain an adult.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. But children are 17, 18-year-olds that go into the military are children. They leave at 26, 27. Their mindset is still that of the child that entered. They leave that military position. They no longer have a job. They no longer have responsibilities. They longer have a way of drawing an income. They wind up at a 7-Eleven overnights. They wind up discouraged with their whole outlook on life. And it turns into a total disaster for them. And we need to reverse that cycle. And there are ways to do it. There are a lot of ways to do it.
Instead of
And
maybe sending money to other countries and
well, that's the whole populist movement. I think that's our candidate's. He is a part of the populist movement. He is the populist movement candidate, right? For next week.
sure.
That's what he said. He was the populist movement
Was
candidate.
it populous?
Yeah.
I was looking at his website. I sorry, I'm not. I
I
told
saw it
you
in the
I
email he sent us too. But that's a whole another topic. I mean, we do need to get out of the business of war. We've been in the business of war for 50 years, and everybody's like, "Why is China so far ahead of us financially, economically?" And it's because they haven't been in war for 50 years. They haven't been in any wars in the last 50 years, and we've been in one war after another repeatedly. And to your
except for when
point,
Trump was in office.
well, also Jimmy Carter never fired a shot either.
What? Come here, I'll text it to you. Sorry.
No, no problem.
Edit that out, Laura. So
No,
I mean I
Trump kept the peace. That's for sure. I mean, at what price, I don't know, but peace is an important.
I'm listening.
He also pulled out of the Iran deal, which a lot of people said, even Israeli intelligence said that wasn't such a great idea. It wasn't a, it wasn't, it was
Well,
not
I I
100%, but it was pretty damn good.
I think he did a couple of good things. You disagree, but that's all right. Whatever. We're talking more important hot topics that are near
Yeah,
and dear
not
to
the
my heart.
Trumpster.
Well, he's
And
near
what
and
is
dear to
one?
my heart
Why don't
too.
you? What's another one?
Well, I mean, the homeless situation is big time,
Homeless is big, big.
and,
It's a big
and we keep
situation.
sending money to other countries. I don't care what the money's for. We need to take care of. I worked for a guy many years ago. He owned a restaurant franchise, and I mentioned to him, I said, "Why don't we do this? I think we should go out and promote this or that." He goes, "First, you perfect the four walls. Once the four walls are perfected, then you go out."
Well, and I agree with
And
that.
I
So,
think we need to perfect the 50 states before we go out.
so let's talk about the money we're talking about. So, and we're not going to talk about where the money's going. We're going to talk about where we should allocate the money. I'm going to tell you an interesting story. So, for 50
Start with
years,
Once
nearly
Upon a Time.
once upon a time, nearly 50 years ago,
Whoa,
we were in the
folks.
Vietnam War, right? Our soldiers came home decimated by the effects of Agent Orange.
Did you say
The,
nearly 50 years ago?
how long ago was the Vietnam War? 50 years ago.
I'm 55 and I was born, I think it was over when I was born.
Okay, so I'm even behind the times now.
I'm
Okay, so
thinking I think it started in the late 50s, early 60s.
well, it escalated in the 70s,
Yeah,
I
we might
believe.
not have I I know we got our troops out in the 70s. It was escalating in
Well,
the
it
late 60s.
escalated. Yeah, I could look at the timelines. So let's just agree on 50 to 60 years ago, we're in the Vietnam War. Our
Long,
troops,
long time ago.
a long, long, once upon a
We
time.
were so
I'll
young.
fade out like Joe Biden. No, I shouldn't say that. No, so I mean, I can. So,
Did you watch
and
the
our
video I sent
troops,
you what he said the other day?
the photoshopped one where he said
It's
he's
not
gonna
photoshopped. Hi, Fancy boy. I got a big Rottweiler sitting here with me.
Prince, my fave, right? Is that my fave or is Boz my fave?
I don't know. They're both black.
Diesel yelled at me,
He did.
growled at me.
And then he went and hid
So
behind his mother.
yeah. He yelled.
He's a
No,
big
that's
baby.
Prince. Yeah, he did. I was like, why are you yelling at me? I haven't done anything, but he does
So
do
back to
that.
back to the
Okay, so we're
Vietnam
in
War.
Vietnam War. Our troops are getting the effects of Agent Orange,
Right,
coming home, getting all sorts of disease.
right.
The military adopted a policy: deny, 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 deny. These guys were not getting treated for the things they essentially, without a doubt, they did not essentially, without a doubt, contracted from their exposure to Agent Orange. Agent Orange was a chemical they used to spray the foliage. The foliage would die within a week. They were in that spray zone.
And
and they
napalm,
came
they had napalms going
they
off,
all
which is
sorts of
yeah.
stuff. 50 years goes by. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, whatever it is, 60 years go by. We now have what the legislators, the president signing laws called the burn bill. And the funds for that burn bill is nearly $220 billion. And it basically says not only Agent Orange, but if you have the effects, so the burn bill is based on a burn pit. So in Iraq, for example, they were burning tires and all kinds of fuel waste in Iraq, and
They burn their poop too.
they right and st- troops were sleeping by those burn pits. One of them being, hang on, and I'm not
No,
getting political. One of them
no,
being
no, no,
Joe
no, no,
Biden's
no.
son.
No,
One of them
and
being, and
he died
he died of
of
brain
cancer. Yeah,
cancer.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
look it
now
up.
here's
So
the
so
anomaly of it
so
all. You have a president's son die of something they've been talking about for 60 years, and suddenly you get action. You get a bill that says we're going to fund this bill with $220 billion, and we're going to give our troops the consideration they deserve. They no longer have to jump through hoops to prove that they contracted these life-threatening and life-costing diseases due to the crap that went on overseas in wars. And we have not seen anything like that until a president's son died from the effects of our actions, of our military's decisions.
understand that. And it's sad that it had to take that to happen because how
And
many
and
more?
when's it going to happen again?
What about all the 9/11
Well, again, I think I'm not sure, but it should include them. It
Yeah,
should include the first
first
responders
responders, absolutely.
that were subject to toxic
I
waste
have
when
a
the building
so
collapsed.
I have a friend who was over in the big sandbox during Desert Storm or Shield. I don't remember which one he was at. He drove a gas tank truck for the Marines. He's a Marine, and I guess Saddam was using that gas. He was gassing people,
Yeah,
and my buddy who I've known since he grew up down the street from me. We've known each other since we were little kids, kindergarten, if not earlier than that. I ran into him and he was working at the only job he could get, which was, I mean, good for him. He was working at the only job he could get. He was mall security. And we were walking through the mall and I saw him and I said, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And he took him just a few seconds to realize who I was. Like he looked at me and he's just like, "Oh, sorry. What's up, man? Hey, sorry." And I was like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, well, it's the gas from over there. I'm messed up." And he's messed up. I don't
and
know.
now he does, if he knows enough, he knows how to go claim that money and that
I'm
treatment.
hoping he does though. I don't know. To be honest with you, I, I know he's still alive up north. I haven't seen him. I don't know how he is
Well, it's
because I
open
haven't seen
ended
him in a
now,
long
and
time.
the whole idea of the bill is they don't have to provide all sorts of medical proof
Yeah,
that they
but now
haven't been able to provide.
are the families who lost family members to these tragedies going to come after it?
Well, I think the compensation is really intended for treatment, and the compensation
Because
is really
not that this has anything to do with war, but my father worked in an asbestos factory when he was a kid, and
and he
he got asbestosis.
right.
And him and my mom, when he was diagnosed with it, they knew that it was terminal, and we didn't know how long. And he lasted pretty good long time. But he made sure they went after him, and my mom got taken care of.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's not always what happens.
but she tells me to this day, I would rather give the money back and have your dad
Right.
because he
Of
died at 70. I mean,
course.
he died 22 years ago. My mom's 90, so he'd be 93. So yeah, he died at
Of
70.
course you would.
Yeah,
And this kind of crap goes on forever. And my point being is that what if Joe Biden, and I'm not wishing this on him. I'm not saying he had it coming. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying, what if a president's son didn't die and have the effects? We'd still have no action. We'd still have zero action on this type of thing. And to this day, I say the same thing about our homeless veterans. We have no action. Will there ever be a president that's going to say my son is homeless because of his
no.
service in the military? No, he won't be. They'd put him up in the Ritz Carlton somewhere
But will there ever
before
be
they.
a president that admits that his son does cocaine in the White House?
Well, I mean, we're not going to start saying that now. You got to put something that let's just give everybody a carte blanche ticket for cocaine treatment. But there are reasons that there's inaction for 60 years maybe But these people saying, "Look, I've got this terrible disease. There's no reason for me to. The only way we can determine how I got this disease was the Agent Orange I was exposed to in Vietnam, and there was no action on the government's part for 60 years."
How many Vietnam vets are actually still around?
Well, it goes further than that now. Well, now it's more towards the Iraq vets, not so much. Now it's more geared towards the Iraq vets. When they
100%,
weren't, it's called
100%.
the
Because
burn bill. It's called the burn bill
I
because
would hate
they
to
were
say
sleeping
it,
near the burn
but
pits.
you got to figure the average age of a Vietnam kid was what, 17, 18, and that was
And so he's at 80 now,
yeah,
if
they're
he's alive. So he
exactly.
probably didn't have the effects of Agent Orange because if he made it to 80, but now that particular bill is more geared towards the Iraq soldiers that slept near those burn pits every night.
Yes.
And but you've got some acknowledgement, but why do you have that acknowledgement? But you have that acknowledgement because the president's son died of that brain cancer that was almost certainly caused by his exposure to those burn pits.
I just and you're right. It should have been taken care of a
Shouldn't
long,
have
long
taken
time ago.
60 years ago. It shouldn't take.
But all right, now let's look at the flip side. Let's get off the military for a minute. Let's go back to homeless. Osceola County, number one county in America for homeless children.
Yes.
That does not mean there's kids living on the streets, by the way. That means they
No.
don't have a permanent address.
Right.
And
And
my
Polk
wife
County.
taught in Osceola County, and one of the things she would say was every semester or so, she'd lose a bunch of kids because they were migrant. They would go with where the crops were, and their father was working in the fields, their mothers were working in the fields, so they had to follow the crops. So they didn't have an address. They lived in hotels. They lived with their friends, or they actually could be people who were truly homeless because their parents kicked them out, didn't want to deal with them anymore, so they were living on a friend's couch. They were living on another friend's couch in the car, whatever. And it's the number one county in America. So how do we fix that? Kids should not be homeless.
No, kids shouldn't be homeless. And then Polk County, next door to my Lake County, is the number one in the nation children with food insecurity. Kids aren't
Oh, I
eating.
thought you were going to say meth. I was like, yeah, it is the number one meth county in the world.
No, kids are starving in Polk County and in every county in the country. I'm just saying Polk County was at one point the number one. There's a feed the map, or there's a where you can see where children with food insecurity all across the country, and it's a huge problem. And we have the money to create cafeterias in the schools that can serve our kids meals on real plates, on real silverware, in real glassware. They can serve them real meals, like a
Yeah,
piece of chicken you really cut into. And
sure.
these kids don't have that.
Right.
These kids go home to an empty fridge, and what they get is mozzarella sticks and french fries in a bag when they get a free lunch or some little bullshit meal. And we do have the money in America to feed these kids correctly, and we don't do it. But like you said, and I do always argue the point that especially in Ukraine, we've gotten a lot in return for the money we sent over there. But how is it, and I agree with you when I say this, how is it that the Congress can get together and they dithered with the idea for nearly a year, but they came together and they allocated another $60 billion to Ukraine. And no, they didn't. They held out as long as they possibly could, but they got that money to them, and you can't get our congressmen to move 60 billion to feed our kids. Just doesn't happen.
Well, if they allocated, look, could we take that money and allocate it to feed homeless people? It would end up through corrupt government and in the wrong people's hands. Absolutely.
Well, there's always a feeling. Whenever you say that, I always bring up the example. You take a war torn country, and again, talking about money going overseas, but you send over $100 million worth of food, and the donors say, "Why is half the food going to the warlords?" And that's the only way you can slip past the goalie is you pay off the warlords to get the food to the people that really need it. They're not going to allow the trucks through if they're not getting half the take. It's the same thing in America at this point. We're still in a situation where the corrupt politicians are not going to agree to anything unless they get their share of the bounty.
Right.
That's a problem. And
So
that's not
so
easy
so
enough.
so how do we drain the swamp?
Well, I think one of the greatest ways we're going to drain the swamp is what's happening right now. There has never been as much discussion in America about politics, whether you hate them or you love them, and who you hate and who you love, and what you hate and what you love. There has never been this much discussion as there is now. A lot of it's
No,
social
because
media
listen, and there's a lot of kids that are getting involved. Yes, because
getting involved.
it's social media for sure. But when I was a kid, politics was the old people's talk.
Right, but
I
that's
didn't
not the
talk.
case
I
anymore.
didn't talk about it. I didn't care about it. That was, some Princeton kid going to, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, whatever, some Ivy League kid. They grew up in Nantucket or and vacationed at Cape May, Cape Cod or whatever it was. It was them. I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't want to know anything about it. And
No, but
now and
now
now I'm very, very it's interesting to me and I'm trying to educate myself more on it. And I wish I had. But now I see kids who can probably debate, like Charlie Kirk, who's I call him a kid because he's younger than me, and what's the Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, and you get all this younger generations that's coming up, and I think that they're all, even the Young Turks. I mean, they're all young, and
well, you pointed one out last week, and I said I'm impressed. I don't like her politics, but I'm impressed with her effort. Andrea Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, who'd ever thought a person at her age, a bartender at her age, would literally grab a clipboard and get signatures and get on the ballot and literally win the nomination? I mean, that's new. That didn't happen when we were kids. No
make
one,
it make AOC bartend again.
well, they could. I don't like her politics. I do respect her effort, though. Now that she's gotten the job, she's another one that'll just never leave the job, and
Is
that
she going to
needs
be
to
the next Nancy
change.
Pelosi?
No, no, she doesn't have that. You have to be Nancy Pelosi.
I
Really,
mean,
truly,
I meant by her never leaving.
she'll never leave, but she will never be the Speaker of the House. To be the Speaker of the House, you have to have an ability to raise a lot of money. That's how you get committee positions, by how much money you can raise. I don't think she has that money raising. Nancy Pelosi was a California congresswoman. Kevin McCarthy was a California congressman. They were able to raise a lot of money, and that's how you get those positions. Mike Johnson came out of nowhere, I think, because Trump liked him, but
I I I I think right what you just said there about them raising money,
that's how you get committee positions.
which
That's how much money you bring in a party is how you get committee positions. But a big part of their job is literally leaving
is
Capitol
almost
Hill.
like bribing your way at a job, saying, "All right, boss,
Absolutely.
I'm
And
gonna I'm
you,
gonna bring in $100,000 this month, and I expect to be moved up to assistant manager." So
as a congressman or a congresswoman, a big part of your job is spent half the day somewhere other than Capitol Hill, across the street in phone banks and rented buildings, because you can't raise money on federal paid for buildings. And they're phone calling. And they get a pharmaceutical guy. I want to be able to charge $500 for an EpiPen, and I'll send your campaign 50 grand. I'll work on it. They get 50 grand.
which is
And
crap.
it's a bunch of bullshit. It shouldn't
Yeah,
be that way, but that's
yeah.
the way it is.
And
You know,
but yet they say they're for the people, but yet we got people on the streets
we
starving,
got
kids
so much
starving.
crap going on in
We got
America that's
old
just
people eating a
utterly
can
wrong.
of stewed tomatoes because they can't even buy food.
It's sad. It's really sad. You've got great charities doing great things, but you know what's the saddest part
But
about them is
then the problem with charities is you find out the top dog was skimming, or you find out the top dog's making $800,000 a year.
well, yeah, but the saddest part about charities, especially just take for example Meals
If
on
you
Wheels.
are a
It's a
not for profit, then you should be doing it just like as a ministry. It should be straight from your heart. It should not be all about how much money you can put in your pocket.
well, that's true,
I
but they
work in the for profit world. Different, totally different. Okay. I know when I go to work, I'm out there to make money for my family and me. If I worked for a not profit that I was raising money to feed people, that would be my goal to do that.
people make that choice, but like you're talking about the upper management, the people that Meals for Wheels. There's volunteers bringing meals to homes, to elderly people's homes that can't leave their house, and the meals they're bringing them are substandard meals, and
I,
they're
I,
and it's
I would not doubt it. And then at the end of the day, and I know that Panera and a couple other places, um, at the end of the day, they give their food away because they're going to throw it away anyway. So they give out bags and food, which is great. if both of us have worked in the restaurant industry, if people knew the food waste that went on.
And it's been mitigated by places like
I worked
Second
for
Harvest Food Bank.
a place. Um, Speaking of, did you ever call Doug and talk to him about money or food?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I did. I'm trying to figure out a way to get the guys over there, but I've been on the phone with that. So here's an interesting thing. I was on the phone because we've got 70 homeless veterans living in rooms at the State of Hope, 70 at the moment. We I got with Second Harvest Food Bank, but we missed their sign up period. But they got me in touch with Soldiers Angels, who really at our level, we're really supposed to be working with Soldiers Angels, not the big organization like Second Harvest Food Bank. And I'm working diligently, talking on the phone, trying to get our guys. 2 days in a row this week, I went to Publix and picked up my whole truck full of pastries for these guys. But these guys need real meals. They're on medications. They need
Sure,
real hot
they can't
meals.
eat
They can't
pastries.
eat bagels. And although we thank you, Publix, for doing what you do, and I mean, my whole truck was full to the point where I had to put stuff in my front seat. My son was sleeping in the back seat because I still hadn't taken him to swimming yet. But it's not enough, and
Right,
we can't count on it.
right,
We do count on it because it's all we have. But
right.
we need to be doing better for these guys who have protected our freedoms. And people tell me, "Oh, we're spending." I hear politicians say the states are spending $1 billion putting immigrants in hotels. The $1 billion figure is kind of like reminds me of who's Austin Powers going, I'm going to blow up the world and I want $1 million ransom. It's like, guys, $1 billion is no longer the big number. We need commitment. We need the 200 billion we've seen for the burn bill. We need money to provide for these guys what they deserve to be provided. They need hot meals every night, not the hopeful hot meal I may be able to get on working the phone banks. We need more understanding of what these homeless veterans are going through, and we need to treat them better. And when you're,
So, you know who Bon Jovi is, right?
yeah,
Have you heard of his restaurants
yeah, and they eat for free
or whatever they can pay?
or whatever they can pay, and
Do
that's
you
a
want a
beautiful
cheeseburger
thing,
and fries? How much can you afford? I got $1.
right?
No problem. It's $1. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing.
More restaurants to do that. There's a pizzeria. I think it's in Orlando. I'm not sure, but you go in and buy a pizza and then you could take the change or the leftover and you put it on the wall, or you buy a slice for somebody else and you put it on the wall, and then they go in and they're homeless or something. They're like, you can get
They
a
can grab
slice.
that
Yeah,
slice off
yeah,
the wall.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
beautiful,
yeah.
and there's a lot of that, but
But
there
then
is
again,
no one.
now let's look at the flip side. There's restaurants, little mom and pop restaurants that would probably love to do that, and they're having to close the doors because they can't even afford everything because the food cost is through the roof.
Well, that's the food cost is relative to the what we see a trend now where big business is taking over small business. Everything small business used to do well at, big business is taking over.
Well, speaking
And
of, I heard a friend of mine who owned a water company here locally, the 5 gallon delivery water, um, and they just got taken over, bought out by a big conglomerate because the big guys wanted their routes.
they're buying them all up.
Yeah, so there's no little mom and pops anymore.
You know, I'm actually writing a book, and I was telling a story about the guy I ran into. His name was Dick, and I said I don't know how his parents knew him so well. Before he was born, they even knew to name him Dick because he was such a cock. He was such a prick. But what was interesting about
You used an adjective for the male genitalia. Three different ones in the same
this
sentence.
guy was so arrogant. But what was funny about it all was I met him because I owned a cleaning business. If I didn't have enough equipment, I signed up this big job. We were pressure cleaning the inside of a warehouse. I needed like 5 pressure cleaners. I only had the one. So I rented 4. I had friends go out there with me. We were blasting the walls and
You
splashing
read
each
them at
other.
Home Depot?
No, that's the point. I rented them from the place was called General Rental, and the owner's name was Dick.
Oh, okay. So a
And
little small mom and
and
pop.
yeah, but went and got 4 machines and a trailer from him. And I showed up at the job with 5 machines and ladders. I got ladders from him, and I got big squeegees, and I got a bilge pump from him because the water was going down into this pit in the floor in the middle of the warehouse. So it was easier to just squeegee into that pit, and the bilge pump was pumping it out the back door. All this equipment I rented from this guy. It looked like I had a giant business. But anyway, he come out one day because I'm always in there renting something, talk to him all the time. He said, "Hey, why don't you strip and wax my floors?" So I said, sure. I said, we've been busy. I could schedule it on a Sunday. He said, I'll be here this Sunday. I'll be here next Sunday. What day is good for you? Set it up, strip wax floors, we're talking again. He's telling me about all the money he's making, investing in Home Depot stock. So I said, that's, just listen to him a little bit, but I was more intent on really just getting all the wax down, letting it dry, get the next layer of wax down. At the end of the job, he pays me, he has this giant wad of cash in his pocket. He says, this is the money I separated from my business, and I'm going to invest this pile of money in Home Depot stock Monday morning. Tomorrow morning was Sunday. So he says, and you should take that $400 I just gave you and buy Home Depot stock. Well, the funny thing, the irony of the story is that Home Depot ultimately owned opened rental spot in the store they had right up the road, and he was done for in a year. His business was sabotaged. It was cannibalized within a year. They didn't buy his business. They didn't give him a reach around. They literally were renting the equipment a lot less than any other store just to get him out of the way first, and a lot less than the other Home Depots. It was very cheap to rent equipment in that store that particular year. But he taught me something that I took no consideration of because I didn't have any education on the idea of investing. And that's why I always say we should be teaching kids about investing. Because if you run into a guy like this and says, hey, buy Home Depot stock, and back then it wasn't as easy as going online. You'd have to find a broker, which meant going in the yellow pages, which meant people should know about this stuff at a young age. Because had I spent some of the money I spent, all that money I was making good money back then on Home Depot stock, I'd probably be a rich man today. But I didn't take any of his
If you had
advice.
spent the money that you inherited instead of going to Hawaii, you'd be a rich
Instead of
man.
going to Hawaii for 2 years, that was a big take. Yeah, that was. I didn't even have money to fly home. The YMCA bought me a plane ticket home.
The
I paid him back.
YMCA, the
Yeah, I
YMCA.
paid the YMCA. Yeah, they bought me a plane ticket back.
You
I got
negotiated that one,
home.
didn't you?
I started working right away, and I sent them twice the money back. I paid them back 2 times. They loaned me about $400 to get a plane ticket home. And that whole week until the plane ticket home, I had to eat all you could eat spaghetti once a day because I didn't have no money to eat. So I ate all you could eat spaghetti once a day till I got on the plane. And then
Then you came back to the Great Swamp.
and I got to Hawaii with a lot of money, man. I landed there with a buttload of money. It was all gone. I was penniless. Yeah, but
I've heard that more than I'd like to say. I hear people getting inheritance and within a year it's gone.
but lately
Every time. What about the people who win the lottery?
win the lottery. Barbara Walters did a special about the bus driver that won the lottery. And the guy was like buying car lots and stuff and met a 20-year-old girlfriend.
Gone.
And he bought this big house. He couldn't even afford to cut the grass, and he was getting sued by the homeowners association because the grass was so tall. And Barbara Walters, she liked to make people cry. She honed in at the end. He said, I just want to go back to driving a bus with little tears rolling down his eyes. His whole life, the lottery messed him up.
Yep.
None of his family would talk to him no more because of the crazy young girl he married that took whatever she could get from him while it was still there. And he bought this big house and couldn't cut the neighbors to the
Oh,
homeowners.
excuse me. Yeah, no,
Suing him.
it's ridiculous. And look, imagine if that guy had invested and then took a percentage of his investment and started
Right.
feeding the
But
homeless.
nobody has that knowledge.
No,
There's a
I actually got this app, and I'm not going to promote it because I'm not. They don't know about us, and maybe someday they will. But I have this app that I got involved with, and every time I buy something at a store, Publix, Home Depot, whatever, every time I buy something, they take $1 and invest in that store stock. They buy me stock.
really.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. I'll send it to you. You can.
Yeah, you gotta send it to me. There's a book out.
So I was excited this week. I've already invested $13.
You're gonna be a
Oh,
millionaire in another 4 months.
loaded,
Loaded.
loaded,
You're gonna be a millionaire because we're gonna be huge. This show is gonna be huge,
huge, bigly,
bigly.
bigly.
So what else is going on there, Zach? Luke, what are you looking up right now? I know you had some other stuff to talk about.
Well, it's not even on the topic we've been on. I've enjoyed this topic, and I think I don't want to taint it with my bitterness about the other topic.
Well, let's run away with it. Where are we at on time?
We're actually probably should be wrapping up here shortly. We're almost be approaching an hour.
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, tell us what the next topic will be for the following week. What was it your
Well, the following week we're having a guest.
Oh, we're having the guest, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're inviting anyone else that wants to be a guest that has an interesting point of view.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to talk to my buddy Daniel. He just actually texted me and told me he's in.
He's in.
Yeah, he's in. And then we're going to interview. So I came up with a great topic for this, and I want to interview. I'd like to interview a pastor. So my pastor already
Oh,
said he
you're
would
a
do it.
pastor.
He said yes. A priest, a rabbi, if we could find one. I'd talk to a Amit. Amit, how do you say it? What's the
Amish.
no Amish? The Muslim pastors. What are they called?
Imams.
Imam. We'll talk to them.
Imam.
I want to know what is their viewpoint on religion and politics together.
So you want me to reach out to some? I'll reach out to one.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing: people look at you crazy when you say that because those are the two no-nos to talk about, and I'm going to put them in the show together. They say,
Yeah.
Zach, don't poke the bear. I freaking whacked it with a baseball bat. I don't care.
Well, I'm ready.
No, the topic I wanted to talk about, I told you I've been watching Dr. Phil lately. I like Dr. Phil. He's a genius. He's actually a very smart man.
He's gotten better.
Yeah, it's not 75-year-old lady show anymore. Um, he had on a guy about what China's doing to America.
Oh, we do. We need. That's a whole topic we need to cover, though. That's a
That's a,
whole nother topic.
is it a conspiracy theory or is it actual?
It's happening, but I agree with it's happening. I may have a different point of view. I'm going to watch again the Dr. Phil stuff you sent
And
me.
then also look up how many pieces of land that China has bought and exactly where they are and what they're by.
Well, there's a lot of that going on. I
Yeah,
don't want to
but
spoil the next show. We could go on
all the
for
land all the land they bought is around military bases.
really.
Yes.
Well, I'll say this without go get. They're investing in infrastructure all around the world, and their infrastructure
There's
loans.
bridges in New York that the tolls have gone up, and every penny that they make goes back to China because China has rebuilt the bridge and it's that they now own the bridge.
Right. Yeah, because
the state can't take care of it anymore, so they sold it
no,
to
no,
China.
they've been privatizing toll roads for years all across the country, but China is a big investor in that. All across the world, though.
I don't think any toll roads in Florida are privatized.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe not. I
I
don't
don't
know. I don't know the
I don't think DeSantis would
Florida
go for
has a
that.
huge revenue source. Florida's never been short of revenue. So,
You can all thank Orlando for that. Hey,
well,
we are the tourist capital of the world.
we are the tourist
Disney,
capital of the world.
Universal, SeaWorld, the fun spot. I mean, I drive. It's just what do we have?
Convention business. Convention business is
83
huge.
million people come through the Orlando airport a year.
Yeah. I
We're
remember when
like
I
the
used to
number.
remember
We're the number one or two airport in America. I think Vegas gets more than us.
convention business, though. They do a lot of convention business as well.
The biggest convention centers in New York, Vegas,
No,
LA,
Florida's probably bigger.
Dallas. Dallas is
Yeah.
huge, huge.
Florida's huge.
Vegas
Huge.
is huge for conventions.
The Jacob Javits Center is huge in New York. The Jacob
That's what I
Javits
said, New York.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's as big as Orlando.
No. Orlando's
That
big.
convention center, you need a golf cart.
They have golf carts that
I
drive
know.
through them.
When I worked in Dallas, when I lived in Dallas, I worked for a company who provided security for concerts, sporting events, and conventions. So if you weren't on the road with a concert or you weren't working a sporting event, they put you at a convention. And since I was a supervisor, I was the guy who drive around the golf cart and give everybody breaks. And the Dallas Convention Center is ginormous. And
Really?
we had the I want to say it was like a Bass Pro Shop convention or something, and they took up the entire convention hall. And like it would take you a half hour to drive from one side to the other. It was huge. But I also know the big PGA show comes here to Orlando, which takes over the whole
PGA shows
convention center.
every year, but the
Yeah.
gun show always goes to Vegas. They've never been here. And the
No.
cigar show, never been
We
here.
need to have
So
the gun show here.
they never been here.
I'll show you
Yeah, 'cause you
guns.
can't smoke.
Show you
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah, I got stopped the other day by mall security for packing a 6-pack and 2 guns.
You're an idiot. Well, folks, there you go. One's a genius and the other's an idiot. So these are topics we're going to bring up. We're going to do a little more research on it, but stay tuned next week. We're going to have a special guest with us, John Flynn, running for the Senate seat in Connecticut.
Connecticut.
I guess he's reaching out to some constituents down here in Florida because I guess we have some
That's all right. We want to talk to him. We want to know.
Northeasterners down here. I want to know what's his agenda. I want to hear what his story is. I'd like to get to know
We're
this guy.
theorizing Zach's going to be in complete agreement, and I may have
Ah,
some disagreements,
maybe, maybe. I don't know.
but you know what we
Um,
say.
guys, thanks for listening. If you're listening to us on our podcast, not via YouTube, please visit our YouTube site. It's political no hyphen brainer, not the word hyphen, but the little dash, political no dash brainer on YouTube. And we're also on Facebook under political no brainer. And we post all our videos there. Um, the podcast that we do the audio for that goes over Spotify and a bunch of other ones. It's I have to look up all the names. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I think iHeart's there and Audible and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's just audio, so you don't get to see our beautiful faces. But if you'd like to see what we're all about, and you want to comment and stuff like that, join us on YouTube or Facebook and make fun of us. We love it. We really enjoy talking and discussing the world's topics and hopefully educating or maybe dumbing you. I don't know what we're doing, but we're having fun doing it. And Jeff and I really appreciate you and appreciate you listening to us. And we love you. And we just want to say, hey, keep on, keep it on. May your ears be entertained by our stupidity.
Our beautiful voices.
Hey, thanks again. And we're out.
Deuces.